What are churches going to do after COVID? What lessons have we learned? What preparation can we make for a thriving church in a post-pandemic world? Those are the questions the Lilly Foundation challenged churches to consider as part of a new effort to prepare congregations for a challenged and changed future. Columbia Theological Seminary in Decatur, Georgia, was the recipient of one of the Lilly grants and invited congregations from all denominations to submit applications for grant funding up to $15,000 to engage in a year-long process of preparing to thrive as communities of faith. Among the many applicants, Fondren was chosen as one of 2 PCUSA congregations to receive a grant. Fondren's proposal for this Rekindle grant was titled Chapter Next, Living Anti-Racism. As most of us know, Fondren holds a storied place in Mississippi's civil rights history. As one of the first churches in the Deep South and the first here in Jackson to open its doors without condition to worshipers of all races, our church has been blessed with generations of leaders who have fought for justice and equality in our community and in our state. People like William and Elise Winter, Rims and Judy Barber, Moody McDill, Sarah Jane and Alec Alston, just to name a few of the many members of Fondren who worked to make Jackson a more equitable and better place. When I came to interview with the search committee here 5 years ago, I had the chance to visit with Governor Winter. When we visited, he made it very clear to me that Fondren's commitment to civil rights is part of what led him here and what kept them here for more than half a century. Our first 90 years as a congregation is a story of a church growing to be a committed voice for racial justice in Jackson. But what happens next? What is the next chapter in Fondren's story? How will we, who shared the blessing of that history in this place, carry it forward into a world radically changed by our shared experience of the last 18 months? That is the question Chapter Next asks. And it's my deep hope that you will be a part of helping us answer that question and write the next chapter of Fondren's life. Perhaps the most exciting part of the Chapter Next process is working with someone who is both a friend of Fondren and a friend of many members of Fondren, Dr. Susan Glisson. Susan and her partner, Charles Tucker, are co-founders of Sustainable Equity in Oxford. Sustainable Equity has worked with diverse organizations such as Leadership Jackson, the Greater Birmingham Police Department, Facebook, and now the National Parks Service. Susan and Charles use a unique process called the Welcome Table, rooted in inclusion, trust, healing, and equity. They do not just teach skills to organizations and individuals. They help foster relationships rooted in trust and equity. So what does this have to do with being a thriving church in a post-COVID world? Simply this. Our world is increasingly defined by what divides us. And people are more and more being drawn apart from those who live, think, vote, worship, or look different than they do. We live in a world that has given up on the Pentecost miracle and the very idea of Isaiah's blessed community. The gospel of Jesus Christ is our resistance to that giving up in the world. We are called to proclaim the gospel. And as St. Francis reminds us, we're to preach the gospel at all times, and when necessary, use words. In other words, we are called to live the gospel of Jesus Christ, to live the values of our hope in Christ, and to live the values of justice and equity that are defined by the gospel of Christ. I hope you will join us on September 19 at 1 p.m. in the fellowship hall to learn more about the welcome table and about Chapter Next. This Sunday afternoon meeting will be the first of many when we gather with Susan and Charles and one another to grow together so that we might live our anti-racism in our daily lives and in our institutional life as a congregation. Masks and social distancing will be required, and all who attend are strongly encouraged to have at least received the first COVID-19 vaccine. I know you join me in thanking the Spiritual Engagement Ministry for all of their hard work, Columbia Seminary and the Lilly Foundation for their generosity, and above all, we give thanks to God for drawing us here together in this place, in this moment, in this church, to draw us together now as a church family as we write the next chapter in Fondren's history together.